Hey guys, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. Subscribe to the feed because we're always here for you when we got breaking news. We have breaking news right now that is hit after I taped the podcast today. So we wanted to turn around something with me and Sam Stein, managing editor of the Bulwark. The news is this: Matt Gaetz has decided to withdraw his nomination for Attorney General. He put out a statement on X saying this. Sam, if you don't mind, I'll just read some of it.
Yeah, read it. Go for it.
I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback. While the momentum was strong, never good when you're starting with while the momentum was strong. It's clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There's no time to waste. I remain fully committed to saying that Donald Trump, blah, 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 blah. So in the end, he says that he'll be withdrawing his name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Well, Sam, I guess I won't prejudice you. What was your initial reaction?
I was shocked. I mean, come on. I was shocked. Totally out of character for this guy. Anyone who's talked to Matt knows Matt and been around Matt knows that he kind of thrives on the drama and the circus and that he appreciates and relishes combat. And I just assumed that, he would want to stuff it in their faces. And even if they voted no against him, it'd be sort of an edifying moment because then you could see who the GOP squishes were that you could then try to primary and, just tear down the house and that type of thing. But, we'll have to see what the subsequent reporting shows. But clearly the math wasn't there because he would have gone for it if it was. And perhaps there was another shoe to drop. Perhaps there were some threats. Perhaps it was conveyed to him that the recess appointment thing was just not going to happen. Because they, what a bluff. What a bluff that was called that they then had, that's it. Like they got their bluff called and they turned out to, not have the cards.
Yeah, well, that is interesting. To me, the biggest interesting thing is the political power aspect of this, because I expected Trump to just bully these guys into submission.
Yes.
And the fact that he didn't leaves a couple of potential options here for why he did it.
Yeah, the fucking votes.
And right now we have two breaking things happening. Marc Caputo, our MAGA-ville recorder, is joining the conversation in a tank top, and Donald Trump has put out a statement. This is live YouTubing right now. Here's the Trump statement. Then I'll go to you, Caputo. Trump, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He is doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all the great things. So there it is. I mean, Caputo, there are a couple of potential things. There's also a CNN report I want to get to that may have had some influence here, but you have a strong view, I guess, maybe on why this happened. So why don't you give it to us?
Trump forced him out. Trump knew he didn't have the votes, and he was done.
Ooh,
Matt, sorry. Yep, I don't have the votes. And so if Trump knows that, that means James Blair told him, because James Blair is the political director of the campaign and will be in the White House and was with Gaetz all day. And J.D. Vance told him, who was accompanying Trump all day. Sorry, man.
So why? So wait, but why? So this is my big question on that. Why not bully him? Trump has the mandate of heaven. Did you not hear what happened after Butler? God chose Trump, and if God chose Trump, then didn't God choose Trump to choose Matt Gaetz?
Yeah,
why didn't he just tell?
This reminds me of we had a crazy Secretary of State who was involved in the recount in Florida in the year 2000, and then she ran for Congress, and then she ran for Senate, and she told one of her advisors once that God wanted her to run, and her advisor told her, "What if God doesn't want you to run and wants you to lose and is only tricking you into thinking that he wants you to run?" So that's how I would answer that.
But how about answering it just though most specifically on why Trump just didn't care enough to try to bully these guys?
I don't think he has a stomach for it, and this is what happens when you make decisions. This is a guy who made a snap decision to pick Matt Gaetz, and so now he made a snap decision that it wasn't worth it. Now Gaetz might have also told him, "Look, I don't have the votes." That wasn't really his attitude yesterday. His attitude yesterday was rather buoyant. In fact, Mike Lee had told me he was really impressed by how positive Gaetz was. And so there was probably a little bit of denial there. Sam and I were talking about this in the run-up. And I was just like, man, I don't see how he's going to cross the finish line. But, at the same time, in these endeavors, you have to be positive because if you step in a ring and you think you're going to lose, you're going to get knocked out. So there's a certain amount of delusion there. And I think the delusion became disillusion.
Wait, Mark, let's pick up on one thread that was in your story yesterday that we didn't pull out entirely, but the idea that they could have fought this more aggressively. Like Gaetz was fairly private for the past 6 days, didn't really do any press, There have been some talk about, well, call for the report's release, the ethics report's release, and then just go off on it and, really go balls to the wall on this.
Yep.
Is there any sort of looking back at it now, we should have done that? Are there any differences?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish I were informed of this decision ahead of time. So
Right.
I'm giving you my reactions based largely on knowledge of the personalities and not knowledge of the discussions that went into their decisions.
Yeah, one thing we should just jump in on this point though, Sam, because there is another item that may have been coincidental timing, but we don't know at this point, so it's worth saying. CNN had a report that the woman who was KM or whatever, who was 17 years old at the time, KB, thank you, that
AB.
had AB. Oh, how could I not remember AB?
Alpha Beta.
That had this encounter with Matt Gaetz, apparently had testified to the ethics committee that there were 2 sexual encounters with Gaetz, and the second time there was an adult woman with them. CNN had reached out to Gaetz about 45 minutes before the tweet. CNN's kind of implying some potential causality there. I don't know if it's causality or coincidence, but at least it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is this wasn't getting better. Like, even though the feds had declined to prosecute this because KM, who's the woman probably involved in that sexual encounter, if not it's BG, there are various credibility problems that these people had. And that's why he didn't get prosecuted, because there wasn't enough evidence. There wasn't solid evidence. And the witnesses had credibility problems. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that doesn't mean that all of the facts that were gathered by the House Ethics Committee were positive. This thing was like a horror show. Group sex and drugs. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of Florida men would like that, but there's not a lot of Florida men who are going to become attorney general. And that shit just doesn't fucking fly.
Yeah, I agree with you. There, maybe for some it's alluring, but it's not the usual resume for an AG. No. That said,
it's a Florida man.
Oh my God. I don't know if you guys saw, I did a little short video, which you haven't, you should go click over on the short feed, about Nancy Mace's former comms director who's going nuclear on Nancy Mace. Yeah. She's also going nuclear on Matt Gaetz. She just sent this tweet. This is good from Natalie. Never took Gaetz as one to pull out of a situation before it's fully matured. We got to hire this woman. That's fine. That's cool. Sam, well, you got enough to hire this woman. She's sending out the best tweets in the whole group.
Like she's checked out of politics and is now an instructor.
All right, so that was it from Caputo reporting from
a parking lot
outside the gym. I guess I don't know. GTLR, Gym Tan Laundry reporting from Marc Caputo. But Sam, I think the more interesting thing here is the bigger picture political. As much as we're all invested in Matt Gaetz' political future, the thing that I was wrong about, at least so far, we'll see. Maybe there's a reason why I was wrong about this that is yet to come to light. Was I thought that Trump had made a decision that he was going to bully these people into submission, and that he didn't give an F about the senators, and he was going to make them stand up to him. This is some evidence maybe that's not happening, and to me, that opens a whole Pandora's box. Like this makes them look a lot weaker on the RFK issue, on Hegseth, which I did a video on this morning on the police report against Hegseth, which is pretty damning. Tulsi, even potentially some others.
Yeah, there's like an element of Rocky Drago here, where it's like the big Russian bully who doesn't take any punches. Suddenly he's cut, and they're like, he's cut, and suddenly you see like a little bit of weakness, and it invites you to throw some more punches, right? And I imagine they're thinking that way in Mar-a-Lago too, right? Like the whole idea was just show utter force and brutality and force it down everyone's throats and have the whole recess stuff in the background, because put people into submission. But now this does, in addition to removing Gaetz from the equation, it enhances the spotlight on Pete Hegseth, right? Yeah. Like Hegseth got to kind of go a little bit under the radar with his serious allegations against him. Just to be clear, those are very serious allegations.
And his unserious nomination.
Yes, that too. Can't forget that. And so now it's like, okay, well, the media is going to move over to that one and say, well, let's focus in on that. And what's the whip count on that? Now, maybe some Republicans will feel good and relieved that they got rid of Gaetz and say, okay, we gave you one and now we can vote for this. But, it does give that Drago vibe where it's like he's cut and suddenly maybe there is some accountability. Maybe there are some spines. Maybe there is a way to like hold Trump at bay for a little bit here.
Yeah, this is all just also as a practical level. It's a long time. I mean, Trump was high on his own supply after this win, and is throwing out all these absurd nominations much earlier than people usually do, right? And so now it's like it's 2 months still, right? So the drip against Hegseth in particular, maybe some of the others, RFK. It could continue, right? Like,
it's hilarious. People, it seems like we should be voting next week.
There's 2 months.
Isn't back till January. This is just going to linger.
Yeah, the sacrificial lamb element of this, like that theory, right, where like you put up one person and let them knock it down. That theory works like when they're all voting, like when you're in horse trading time. You know, you're like, all right, we'll put this horse out to pasture for you, but you got to vote through this one. Like that, we're not there. Like there's a long time from that now. To me, I'm pretty surprised that they would pull the plug on it this early. And that might lead to the idea that there really is more bad Matt Gaetz info.
The only reason it would make sense is if there's some other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Because there's no what you know is what you know.
Right.
The vote count is the vote count. You don't have, it just doesn't really make sense that he would pull out 7 days in.
So to speak.
Pardon the pun.
We need sound effects. There are 2 sound effects I want. I want a yucky sound effect for double entendres.
Oh my God! Ew.
And people keep saying that we need a bulwark right now against Trump. I've had 3 podcast guests say that, and I need a bulwark sound effect too. So those are my 2 requests for the producers. All right, Shelby Talcott at Semaphore, reporting that the names being floated inside Trump world already to replace Gaetz are Todd Blanche, who is currently tabbed as deputy AG, who is Trump's criminal attorney.
Move it up. Yeah.
Well, I'm clear what Todd Blanche is like.
It's really incredible, but yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, like the guy that defended Trump.
Yeah.
Blanche. I mean,
what are the other names? Does she have any other names?
Andrew Bailey. I don't know a lot about Andrew Bailey.
That name's familiar. Hold on 1 second.
So I'll have to do a little.
It's the Red Sox pitching coach. Hold on.
I don't think it's Red Sox pitching coach Andrew Bailey. Oh, Missouri Attorney General. Andrew Bailey.
That guy.
He might be worse than Gaetz. Actually, he is a MAGA.
He's MAGA.
He is far right.
Gaetz is like, come on. Gaetz is pure MAGA. That's uncut MAGA. There's no one quite like Gaetz.
That's true. Anyway, much to learn about Andrew Bailey if that's the choice. Missouri has had some very extreme policies coming out of their Attorney General office. Okay, what? I felt like I had one other thing for you. I guess it's if you're kind of assessing the landscape now, it is Hegseth. That would be next to be on the chopping block.
I gotta be honest. We've produced. Yeah, it's kind of weird because in the last couple of days we've unearthed videos of RFK saying that the pandemic was planned by the Trump administration, the COVID pandemic, and then today that he is persuaded that chemtrails are real, and everyone is just like, yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so that doesn't seem like people are all that bothered. In fact, some Democrats are very curious about it, like your boy, Jared Polis, and Jackie Rosen, I believe, said she was open to it, but probably going to vote against it. So I think RFK is doing fairly well. And then Tulsi's got some opposition, but it's just from outside, like Nikki Haley. So I think Hegseth is the one.
I guess the other final question was, that I wanted to get to was, what does Gaetz do?
There
were 2 things. I was discussing with my husband downstairs. We're like, do you think this is a gambit to get him in that Rubio Senate seat? And I thought about that for like 2 seconds, and that doesn't make sense because DeSantis needs to make that selection. DeSantis does not want to do any favors for Trump or Gaetz. No love lost in either of those situations. And it's like, what could they give DeSantis? Like Attorney General, I guess. But I don't think that he's interested in that. So that's probably not it. So then the question is, can Gaetz go back to his House seat? Yes. And this we get into kind of parliamentary nerd stuff, which is, on the one hand, he withdrew from this Congress. So some argue that he could return to the next Congress. But in his statement, he wrote, "I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress." So the question is that an official resignation? Do not intend. We're gonna have to get some lawyers on that. If he wants to stay in Congress.
I didn't intend for Marc Caputo to show up in a tank top, and he did. Okay, sometimes stuff happens, and you change course. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in Congress. I don't think he's one to go quietly in the night.
I wouldn't either, but I think that it is. I think that there are potential complications there. So that is something we'll be monitoring. All right, we got it.
It never gets old. It never gets dry. It never gets dull. There's always something to talk about.
We are cursed to live in interesting times, Sam Stein. Thank you for joining me on the Bulwark YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends. It's the only place you can get insider reporting from a deeply sourced Matt Gaetz reporter while he is showing off his biceps in a parking lot outside of a Barry's or a Gold's gym of some kind.
I think he's at lunch.
At lunch? Who dresses like that to lunch? Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out and report back for you guys later. We'll see you all soon.